I'm Sara Hammond, and I am the moderator of Building Your Mental Health Toolbox. I'm the founder of Sara Hammond Coaching, and we have an amazing staff, or a bunch of experts here for you. We are going to have one of our sponsors. Just come on up, say a few words.
Welcome, everyone. How are you? Good. Good. My name's Ayubami. I'm with Summit Credit Union, and we're pleased to be one of the sponsors for this great program and to introduce this session. Before I do that, I want to mention how passionate we are at Summit about empowering people to improve their financial well-being, especially our community's female entrepreneurs. As the #1 SBA lender in Wisconsin for the last 11 years, Summit's a partner you can trust to answer your questions and offer guidance wherever you want to take your business. I welcome you to come talk to us about your goals, whether it's about saving more, paying off debt, or just having everything you need to easily manage your money in one place. We're here to help reduce stress and keep building your wealth and security. This session is called Adding to Your Mental Health Toolbox, because these days we need all the tools that we can to manage and balance our busy, ever-changing work lives and home lives. You'll leave here today with the practical tools and skill sets needed to help to reduce your stress, improve your self-care, and have a greater overall well-being. The panelists, and I'll be covering them up, Sara Hammond from Sara Hammond Coaching, Kestly from a Wellbeing Program Manager with Baird, Sara Kohlbeck from Medical College of Wisconsin, and Lubar from Growing Minds. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to our session moderator, Sara Hammond.
Thank you. We're so pleased you're all here. Should I stand for a minute? Maybe? I think, and thank you for introducing everyone. We're going to have Susan Lubar start with a mindful moment, which, as you see as we get into the session, we all see as a really effective, powerful tool. And so here comes.
Thank you, Sara. It's so nice to see you all here. The morning's just been so exciting. Can you hear me? Is this working? Okay, great. So what I'd like to do is just guide you in a momentary pause. A pause to just let your mind settle, let your muscles soften, just sort of gather yourself and see where you are emotionally. And this is called affectionate breathing. So I'm going to ask you to just sit in a comfortable position, usually 2 feet on the floor and a long, strong back, but most important, be comfortable so that your body feels relaxed and your mind is alert. And if you feel like it, you're welcome to close your eyes, and otherwise just bring your gaze down to minimize the amount of stimulus going into your mind. Okay, so let's just take a moment to ask yourself, what are the thoughts going on in my mind? What's my attitude? How does my body feel? And what do I feel like doing or not doing? When you're ready, gather your attention and begin to focus it on your breathing. So feeling the sensations of your body moving as you breathe in, and the sensations of your body moving as you breathe out. Or maybe you feel the air in your nose, whatever you notice. And your mind will probably wander. So just turn towards yourself when that happens, as though you're a little child or a puppy, and just bring your attention back to your breath with kindness. So breathing in with that tenderness towards yourself, and breathing out with that tenderness towards yourself. So you're being gently rocked, caressed by your breathing. Just breathing. And now gently releasing your breathing from your attention and sitting quietly in your own experience. Allowing yourself to feel whatever you're feeling and being just as you are. And when you're ready, allowing your eyes to open. That's called affectionate breathing, and if you got the handout, all the notes on that are on here.
Susan, thank you for that gift. So like us all, I'm going to introduce the panel again. Notice the shift. What do you notice about when you came in compared to how you feel now? Just a few, bunch of hands, just shoot up. Just, what do you notice? Calm, yes, what else? Being in the moment. There's no wrong answer, all good.
Focused.
Sorry?
Focused.
Centered, focused. Yeah, what else? I think you get the idea, kind of the two extremes there. Not only, and what we're all here to talk to you about, is taking these moments during the day. Not only do you get calm, center, the cortisol drops, when that happens, your executive functioning increases. Because your prefrontal cortex can think now with the decrease in cortisol. So you're more efficient, you're more productive, and you're open to sensing and feeling everything that's going on around you. It's like a new lens. So thank you. I think if we could begin every meeting with this. Right? We wouldn't have all these challenges in the world. Okay. So Susan, you really got the gist of her. She is the founder and president of Growing Minds. She's a pioneer in bringing mindfulness-based practices to Milwaukee area schools and businesses. Becca Kestly, as she loves to be known as, is the vice president, well-being program manager at Baird. She's moved into this position because Baird recognized there was a real need for more wellness, including mental health. She develops strategies, tools, and resources not only for the associates, but their families too, and she'll talk a little bit more about that. Sara Kohlbeck is the director of the Division of Suicide Prevention and Prevention Injury Center at the Medical College of Wisconsin. So she brings the academic focus. Her main role or job is to use public health, really her background is public health and suicidology, in order to use public health-based prevention strategies. So she is really in the trenches, living, breathing this every day. And we'll make sure we're providing, our goal is to give you both systematic, bigger system goals, as well as individual take-home things you can do today. And we hope that with Susan's just beginning our session today, that you already have a take-home strategy. And none of these, it's not like we're brain surgeons or we're gonna knock your socks off, but I always say we all need support, reminding each other what we know we should do to improve our mental health toolbox. So Dan and Kate asked me to give you a real quick, where are we? How did we get here? I think most of this we know, we have a feeling based on everything we've been hearing about in the news and everything today. But in a nutshell, 1 in 5 US adults experience mental health illness each year. 1 in 20 experience serious mental health illnesses. People with a common mental health condition rose by 20% between 1993 to 2014. Didn't even get into all the younger, but we know with adolescents it's a bigger, much bigger number. Just worldwide, in total, 30% of respondents in English-speaking countries had mental well-being scores in the distressed or struggling range. And then on the flip side, only 36% of participants in the English-speaking countries reported feeling that they were thriving or succeeding. So with all these numbers, how likely is it that people that we see every day, people we work with, are part of the numbers? In fact, statistically speaking, if it's not one of your colleagues battling a mental illness, it's you. And it's impacting, of course, individuals, and it's impacting organizations. People with poor well-being are less productive, less effective, less innovative. They cost more to insure, they're absent more often, and they're less likely to be engaged. So today, if you care about your business's well-being, you have to care about your employees' well-being. So before I ask the panelists their first question, I'm going to encourage all of you, and we all are very comfortable, please raise your hand, ask questions as we go along. We are going to be pretty good about timing, but then at the end we'll have more time for questions. Since we are the last session, we can go over a little bit, but we do want to be cognizant of the rest of you. So anybody have any questions now? Thoughts? No? Okay. All right, so Susan, I'll start with you. So why is mental health so important to you? And what was your aha moment when you said you wanted to make it your career? And what really drives you?
Thank you. So I had some health problems when I was just gotten married and had 3 children, and I had an overactive thyroid and just felt stressed all the time. And I went to some doctors and had some surgeries and this and that, but even after those medical procedures, I still didn't really feel that great. And I realized it was emotional. This was quite a ways back, but things like the remote control could really send me soaring. And I realized it wasn't my kids, it wasn't my husband, it wasn't, my job. It really laid within me. And so going into the health field became a search for me for like 20 years. It turns out I ended up being gluten sensitive, so that didn't even exist when I was looking around. But what happened is I stopped looking for what was wrong with me, and I was looking for ways to feel better. And that was a real shift in my well-being. I decided that there were not doctors out there that could fix me. I'd gone to enough doctors, and there was nothing wrong with me, so to speak. And so I started looking for ways to feel better. And when I came across mindful awareness-based strategies, brain-based strategies, I could spell those words. I could come home and talk to my family about them, and they didn't think I was part of a cult, because I had studied a lot of different things. I wanted something where I could feel normal and not like there was something wrong with me. I wanted to be, on the cusp of well-being. And mindfulness was really that tool. Yoga and mindfulness were those tools that helped me physically and mentally just feel like, like someone would say, "You look so good, did you get a facelift?" No, I just feel better, so I look different.
Awesome. Becca.
For me, really, it was about touching everything, family, friends, coworkers. You'd hear stories about, someone struggling, and I wanted to do more. So as Sara mentioned, I started in fixed income at Baird, and I wanted more. So I looked into human resources, and ultimately Baird saw the need for more wellness, which is great. We have this comprehensive culture of health, and created this role. So that's what really drives me, is hearing these stories and the successes when someone is struggling.
Great, thanks.
Sara.
Thank you, Sara. So this journey has been pretty personal for me. This is actually my second career. I started out right out of undergrad as a teacher and taught Spanish for several years, and just didn't really quite fit with me at the time. And I took some time off and came to find the field of public health. But the topic area of mental health and suicide prevention is, like I said, personal to me. I live with mental health issues. I've lived with depression and anxiety since my early 20s and have struggled kind of off and on through pretty much all of my adult life. They say with research that research is me search. And so when I'm doing the research that I do, that we do in our division of suicide prevention, I find that I'm really able to learn more about myself and why maybe I'm feeling certain ways, how different systems sort of impact not just suicidal thoughts and behaviors, but other mental health issues as well. Even if it's not a diagnosed mental health issue like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, things like that, kind of just our moods, feeling depressed, feeling anxious, feeling stressed. And that really drives the work that I do. I know how difficult it is to live with a mental health condition, to struggle, to have to look for therapy, to try several medications. And I think my goal with prevention is really making sure that other people maybe don't need to go through these things, don't need to feel these things, and that we hopefully are able to change our policies and our systems and our culture so that folks are, one, more willing to talk about this issue, and two, that we're able to sort of change the way that we work, live, and play together so that we have a more supportive culture and society around mental health.
Yay. Thank you, all three of you. And I think these things are happening, and you have three very different examples of how we are making phenomenal progress. So, segueing a little bit, over the past 2.5 years, right, COVID, anyway, has really impacted all of us. And what it's done is it's exacerbated a lot of trends that have been building and building over the years that have been undermining our mental health and our well-being. And mental health, well-being, physical health, professional health, financial health, relationship health, these are all part of our whole selves. So they are all interconnected, right? So we know when we hug a friend, we get a boost of dopamine. When you drink a glass of water, your brain can think better. When you get a good night's sleep, you show up for yourself the next day. So they're all interrelated. So my next question is, even despite everything going on, we have all this tumultuous stuff out there, what's your personal, individual, we're getting into the real toolbox here, your sort of non-negotiables, things that you know that work for you, that you try, we're all human, you try to do every day, you may or may not get to them, but just what you know works for you on a day-to-day and long-term. You know, we talked this morning about having that empowering, really having that legacy, the passion that Christine talked about. When we're tied to the passion, it often can get us through the slumps. And we'll just say again, we're all human, we all go through lots of ups and downs. And if you're not experiencing some pretty serious downs, then there's two kinds of people who don't experience those emotions. You're either a psychopath or you're a dead person. So just to remind ourselves, these are universal feelings, emotions, thoughts, strategies, goals, etc.
Okay, I'll start. So some of the things that I do every day, and I'm not an everyday person actually, so I do things in bursts and fits, and then sometimes I start new practices, just for variety. But I usually wake up in the morning and I have like a little prayer I say to myself, or I'll go through a little bit of a gratitude list, what I'm really appreciating. And I always get some exercise every day. I, of course, really value sleep. I keep a schedule that way because I know it makes a difference for me. So these are some, and I eat as well as I can most of the time. These are things probably that most of us do, but some of the unique things that I do is I really talk about well-being all day long. You know, I make it a part of almost every conversation, and so people know it's a priority for me. And that keeps it on the forefront of my mind. And I find that's important. When I run company meetings and sometimes meetings with appointments that I have, I usually start with the soft landing, which is pretty much what we did. I may not take 4 minutes like that. It may only be 1 minute. But I've never had someone say, we really don't have time for this. And it's palpable when you feel the room settle down and you know, I know that I have people's attention in a different way. People need time. I need time to transition my mind just from transporting myself somewhere to actually bringing my attention to the here and now. And I respect other people, and I always want to give them that kind of time to do that for themselves too. And I think that's probably the single most thing that I do in my business life.
Some of my non-negotiables, definitely movement. I think not just physical movement, but emotional movement. So making sure that I'm making time for myself, whether that's a walk or a workout. But the emotional movements, definitely yoga, meditation has helped. And those days that you don't get to it, you can definitely feel it. So making time for yourself, and in my world, it's filling my own cup because I need to help others, so I need to be there and kind of show up at work and practice what I preach. The other thing that was non-negotiable was sleep, but now that I'm pregnant, it's a little bit harder to get that 8 hours of sleep, so trying to cope with different ways to find energy.
I'm sensing a theme here because movement is really important to me as well. In fact, when I was dealing with a pretty significant relapse in my own mental health issues several years ago, one of the things that I wasn't able to do was exercise. I wasn't able to kind of rouse myself out of bed to build up the motivation to be able to do it. And once I was able to sort of bring that back to my daily practice, it helped immensely. And so, and like Becca said, I can tell if I didn't have time to exercise in the morning before work. I just feel differently during the day. I don't have quite as much energy, quite as much focus. When my kids were very small, that was kind of my me time. I would go out for a run, and I never bought a jogging stroller because I didn't want an excuse to have to take my kids on a run, which sounds really bad. But so I mean, it's just really good me time for myself to be able to kind of get in the right mindset for the day. I think the other component of my well-being is making sure that I'm having meaningful interactions with particularly my kids and my husband on a daily basis. Sometimes we're, kind of chasing around, and I don't even see my husband for an entire day. But I feel because they're just really at the core of my passion as my family, being able to, even if it's a quick text message or a phone call or FaceTime, just to be able to have a couple of minutes to check in, talk about our day, share, that we love each other, and then move on. That is a non-negotiable for me as well.
Thank you. So now we're going to take this and pull it out, although we're not really going to disengage, but from our individual, what we're doing to, enhance our mental toolbox. But now we create, we have spouses, we have friends, we have co-workers. These are basic human tenets of what it means to be a person. So we're now bringing it out to a group. So as we look at teams, schools, organizations, large companies, smallish companies, how do we now take this mental health and we scale it to build cultures where people can come to work or come to a family meeting or even engage with somebody you don't know at the grocery store. How do we create cultures where people feel respected, they feel trusted, they feel empowered, they also, in order to be strategic, not just to be kind. This is not all wishy-gushy stuff, right? This is because we have goals. We want to move forward, right, as we want to make progress. So how can we do this now, and how do each of the three of you do it when you're looking at bigger people, right? Because it's easy to do when you're like, I have my time myself at home, and pay it forward. Because in the end, we're going to ask each of you to pull out your pen and paper or your phone and pay it forward. What are you going to do with your new acquired knowledge? Or maybe just something that we reminded you that you know, how are you going to share it and bring it back to the teams that you interact with and make it better? Because we know you will, right? Knowledge is power and it makes you want to take action. Nothing like a bunch of really smart women who want to share, skills with each other. Okay, Susan, you want to go first or?
Okay. I think I jumped the question on the last
That's okay,
one.
a little bit.
I did a little bit. So I'm just going to backtrack for a second on the personal level. Okay? Because one thing that I do every day, all day long, is I set an intention for myself, how I want to show up in that moment. And I have an intention basically for my home life, and I have an intention for my work life. So at home, I want to show up as loving and connected. And so what that means is, if I'm talking about one of my kids, or I'm not married right now, but when I have been married for 32 years, while I was married, regardless of what was going on, however I spoke about anyone in my family, whether they were in front of me or not, I always had in the back of my mind, I want to be a loving and connected. I'm building a loving and connected relationship. So every word and every action, I wanted to align with that intention. And at work, I have that intention also. And those intentions are, I want to be open, patient, and curious. And so when I'm sitting with any of my employees or any people that I work with, I try to ground myself and say, here's my intention. Now, do I get there all the time? Definitely not. But at least I know that I've strayed from where I want to be, and I can move myself back and realign myself. And if I've really crossed the line, I can go and apologize to whoever that is and say, this is my intention, and I just didn't show up that way. And so I think every single person should have intentions like this. I think it's really the most important thing you can do for yourself, because it doesn't cost anything. And it's mentally repeating something in your mind in that moment to align your behaviors and actions with how you want to show up, so that at the end of the night, you go to sleep feeling good and nourished about yourself. You don't feel depleted like, oh, why did I do that? You're like, oh, I didn't do that. I'll apologize and do the best thing I can next time. So that would be my real personal practice.
And business too.
And in business too.
Becca.
So at Baird, we were really working hard to build this culture of transparency as well as authenticity, and I feel that our leaders do such a great job in helping associates feel like they're welcome to share anything that's going on in their life. We've provided different trainings and toolkits, but really it's just getting down to the person and then being able to talk to an associate who has an issue. So that really has been helpful for us.
Becca, sorry, one more. So how many of you work for a company between 5 and 20, 25, 30 people? Okay, smallish. How many of you work for something smaller than that? Okay, and then how many work for a larger company? Okay, all right. So, and please feel free to, if we haven't answered, Becca represents a larger company. Our goal is to make sure we're giving all of you tools to take and go. So, they can do survey monkeys, they can have these big groups and then follow up with one-on-one. So we also, and maybe some of you have ideas that work in your company for really connecting, connecting with people, making sure that they're happy, healthy, so that not only can they do their job, but because that's just the right thing to do, so.
Another topic I would bring up is we've created, and we talked about toolkits, but we actually do use that word a lot at Baird. We've created work-life toolkits that focus on different areas like financial stress, mental health, childcare and elder care. So really trying to touch anything that could be possibly creating a stressor in someone's life, as well as a mental health first aid. So if someone's having a bad day, what can you do? If you're having a childcare or elder care issue, what resources do you have? If you're stressing about finances, or if you really need clinical help, we have everything available to really try and help our associates.
Sara.
So I want to share, I want to share two tools. One that I know of that is really wonderful, that we don't currently use, and then one tool or framework that we do use within our center at the medical college. The first tool that we don't use, but I think is amazing, is SAMHSA. It's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration's 8 Dimensions of Wellness. It's a wellness wheel that goes over 8 different dimensions of a person's life that makes up their wellness or their unwellness if things are not being addressed. It includes physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, financial health, intellectual health. And one recommendation that I make to organizations that I work with from a research standpoint is if you're able to use that resource and think about what you are offering to employees, colleagues on a daily basis through your policies, through the activities that you engage in at work, you're going to do a good job of supporting your employees' sort of whole health. The second tool that we actually use in our center, I learned about at a conference she's actually a Canadian clinical psychologist. It's called the Zone of Fabulousness. And if you're curious, you can, she has videos on YouTube. She's fantastic. Just Google Zone of Fabulousness. And basically this framework is centered on the idea of collective care. We talk a lot about self-care, and self-care is so important, so wonderful, but we also need to be engaging in collective care. And that looks like watching out for our colleagues, knowing when a colleague seems like they might be having a kind of a bad day, and feeling and having the trust to check in and just say, how are you? The Zone of Fabulousness is kind of the middle of a spectrum that falls between disconnection and enmeshment. And when we think about our work, we can either be on one spectrum very disconnected, not caring about what we're doing, sort of disconnected from the passion of the work that we do. And on the other end of that spectrum is enmeshment. When you're so enmeshed in the work that you're doing, it's almost kind of a martyr situation. You're just really sort of too drawn in to what you're doing at work. And the middle of that is the Zone of Fabulousness. And it's our job as colleagues, as partners, as supervisors, to look out for folks when they kind of stray from that zone and check in and provide that collective care. And again, something I like to say in suicide prevention training is you don't have to be a psychologist or a therapist to do this. Oftentimes the most powerful thing that you can do for somebody else is just check in and ask how they're doing and then sit and listen to them. It's really powerful, really helpful. And so we use that at work. We have regular check-in meetings and we talk about the zone and kind of how we're feeling. We check in with each other and we do say, you seem really quiet today. Is there something going on? Did you just read something difficult or did you have a difficult interview or something like that? We talk a lot about feelings, which is fine. And so that has worked really well for us. And like I said, it's all on YouTube if you want to check it out.
Thank you. And now we've got a lot more to say, but we really want to open up to questions. So any questions for our panel? There's a lot that we think we've covered, but there's an awful lot that we have not covered. maybe what works for you personally, where you are with your company, what everyone, I mean, I do think we have a lot of innovative things going on with you and what you see in your team. So what are you doing that you want to share, or a question, maybe what are you doing that you find is working? And I want to sort of just pick up the, let's find some positive action, strategic things that you're doing. It can be both, but you see what I mean? I just want to kind of pick it up.
Yeah, thanks. I got a question. You have, stress is a huge thing in my life, and so I'm always trying to figure out how to manage it better. And you have on here, name them to tame them. What kind of toolbox things do you use to help you through that? Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay, the question, as I heard it, is what does name it to tame it mean?
Right.
And, okay, so there's a phrase called name it to tame it. And name it to tame it means identify what is on your mind. Identify what you're noticing. The very act of naming it will tame it. So that in the beginning, when I started in the mindful moment, I said, what are you thinking about? What's your attitude? What do you feel in your body? And what do you feel like doing or not doing? When you can name those things, you tame it, you take the power out of it, the resistance out of it, the sort of suppression of it, and you allow the energy to flow through you. So sometimes they say, name it to tame it, feel it to heal it. So just you acknowledge that it's there. Does that help?
Well, and I was just asking some kind of toolbox that you could use for stress management.
So this is I'm going to just show you this toolbox that I use, and it's called a mind jar. So it's a jar that's basically clear. I made it, it's got about a third dish soap clear, and the rest is water, and then there's glitter at the bottom. So I have people put these on their desks so that when they're feeling stressed, they can shake it like this. And it makes it, this is like your thoughts going around your mind, or the aches and pains in your body, or your attitude. So you just shake it up, and then you watch the glitter drop. The more soap you put in, the slower it takes. And so that's your purposeful pause. And the whole idea of the pause is to reset your nervous system. Like Sara said, it gets you out of your fight or flight response and back up to the prefrontal cortex, where you can access your higher level thinking. So people say, well, how often should I shake this? Well, a lot. A lot, 30 times a day, because, just being in a lot of traffic can get you like this. You're not really even dealing with a significant challenge. Not being able to go to the bathroom can do this. Not having, a chance to do the body movement that we're all like saying we desperately need. So pause as often as you can, and you pause in ways you probably are already pausing, but you don't use it as a purposeful pause. Define it. I'm taking care of myself. This is for me. I respond. I always ask myself, what do I need right now? Do I need someone to tell me I'm good? And I'll just go, hey, you're pretty cool. Like you can tell yourself these things. Your body doesn't know the difference. Ask yourself what you need. Take a pause as often as you need it. It doesn't take up that much of the day, but it expedites all the rest of your tasks.
Yeah. Becca? Sara, do you want to answer? Yeah.
So I have a quick kind of tool that I use when I'm dealing with stress, and this is actually, I think it's a mindful practice as well. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things you can hear, 4 things you can see, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, and 1 thing you can taste. It's just kind of grounding yourself and being present in your environment where you are right now. I mean, I feel like that's helpful for me when I'm feeling really overwhelmed or stressed, is just taking a minute to just do that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And, you know, I've encouraged others to use that as well, and I feel like that's another good little trick.
Could you repeat that? Yes.
Yeah, so it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things you can hear, 4 things you can see, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, and 1 thing you can taste. Yep.
Questions? I don't like. Yeah, great.
I've heard it mentioned briefly, but how often do you promote nutrition with mental health? That's a huge role that I don't think that we play too much into that needs to be addressed.
I'm going to say one thing and let the panelists, I know it's really, really important.
Not just personally, but a great resource for all of us. I'm obsessed with Dr. Uma, U-M-A, Naidoo, N-A-I-D-O-O. She is a nutritional psychiatrist. And her practice years and years, she kept saying, if you're eating like garbage, you're gonna get garbage. And we have, anyway, it can go on and on, but we live in a society that doesn't promote healthy, fresh eating. Dr. Uma, U-M-A, Naidoo, N-A-I-D-O-O. I follow her on Instagram, so I really try to be intentional about my social media. Every day she's got something great. Food has an enormous impact. I think it could be the missing link. We got all this other great stuff going on. There's a lot of smart people, as you can see here, doing this. But food is, I work on a lot in my individual and corporate practice, and myself, so.
Anyone else about food? Yeah, Becca, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we are actually piloting a program at Baird. So we have 50 lucky participants that are getting these healthy meals delivered to their homes, as well as we have on-site lunches for them. And we really believe that fueling your body and your mind is so important. And we've already seen really great success from this program. So we're excited to continue it through this year. And Kathy's in the back there if she wants to say anything, but it's through the Doman Foundation, and it's called Food Benefit Company. So it's been great.
What are you seeing? What are the results?
Well, so they do biometric screenings each quarter, and we're starting to see these numbers go from either red or yellow to green. We're hearing about engagement is better, their energy is better. It's kind of all around. They feel just like a better person. They are working with coaches as well, so they are engaged and keeping themselves accountable.
Sara. Sure.
So just from a research perspective, I work with a lot of really smart neuroscientists and basic scientists that are looking at kind of that gut-brain connection. And I've heard them say often that the gut is the second brain. And so you can learn a lot from studying kind of the microbiome. And we have researchers that are actually looking at how the microbiome reacts to things like PTSD and severe trauma, to help kind of better understand that connection and how we can, do things like improve, what we're taking in to also improve our mental state. So I think, things that you're doing, Becca, at Baird, things like that are so important. And I just, wanted to share that it's kind of an emerging area, and I appreciate you bringing it forward because I think it's a really important topic.
Yeah, in the back. Good.
I feel like sometimes technology and social media takes away from my productivity or mental well-being. Do you have any suggestions for maybe pulling yourself away from that and making it not as much of a problem?
Excellent question. Who wants to take that?
Something that I personally do, and so when you wake up in the morning, you might have to put on glasses or sunglasses, maybe blue light glasses. I call them wellness shades, and it's really about setting boundaries. So putting on those shades and saying, okay, I'm not doing social media today, or I'm not going to engage with this family member or coworker for a little bit. I need a break. and just trying to take that pause. So put on your wellness shades and hopefully you'll have a different perspective and maybe some space.
Susan, anyone else want to say? I think there's one quick thing.
This is an idea, but a friend of mine,
Yes.
so she has all her social media is on a computer. So in other words, not her phone, because we can all get on our phone, so that's a way that she protects herself. So she'll go on the computer, say they look at Facebook once every couple of days, great, like your friends and your family and the kid caught up. But I thought that was a great way to control it if it's off of your phone. Because we're all guilty of getting our phone and looking and, so just that's one great idea that she had, not mine.
Thank you, because I think we all now, we're tied to our phones for emergencies. I've got 4 grown children, but then you get distracted. And while I think setting up those systems, right, because we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. That's James Clear, Atomic Habits, not me. But when you create these systems that are in line with your passion, your purpose, your goals, what you want to get done for the day. So all these kinds of things, I do think we are going to need, just like mindfulness, your brain is very, very plastic. I have totally changed through all my positive psychology, coaching, and all my work over the years. I've changed my default set mode for my mood, what I think I can accomplish, my confidence, my efficacy. We can do anything we want. So thank you. I think this is an ongoing issue. We need it, we've got to have it. But it's very easy to get distracted. And remember, right, they said, whoever said this morning, what you see on here is not the real person, right? So, okay, let's do maybe 1 or 2 more questions. It's 12 o'clock right now. What else have we not covered? There's so much here. What are you doing in your companies that's successful, that's working? Anyone else want to share? All right, yeah, it's 12 o'clock. I think we've had a long day. Any closing remarks you want to say? We hope we are all up here. We are accessible for you, for more tools, for follow-up questions. Thank you for letting us be here.